Okay, so today we're going to talk about Augustus and the life of Augustus. So I have provided you with these notes. So you have this page and you have this page. So either as the video is going or after the video, please make sure to write down any notes that you may want. I have included a list of people that are important to the discussion, so you may want to take notes on them. Also, you're definitely going to want to take some notes on the achievements, and this is the achievements of Augustus, who we are talking about today. So, our story of Augustus really starts with the death of Caesar. We all learn that in 44 BCE, Caesar dies. And we also learned that there was a huge civil war, and this was between Octavian, Caesar's heir, and Antony. And at the end of this civil war, who's left standing is Octavian. Antony killed himself, so did Cleopatra, because they were defeated by Octavian. So we have his victory in here in 31 BCE. And when he ends the civil war, he really doesn't go back to Rome yet. Remember that he takes Egypt as his personal property. And there's really a line here between 31 BCE and 27 BCE because he spends a lot of time in Egypt. He doesn't go back to Rome immediately after winning the Civil War. He's waiting for all the violence and everything to calm down. And he really does spend this time trying to erase the war. So he's trying to set people's minds at ease, and he doesn't want to be remembered as someone who partook in this. There's no undeniable fact that he did, but he's trying to give it some time so that's not the first thing they think of when they see him. So he spends some time in Egypt, away from his enemies in Rome, letting everything die down. He's also trying to erase this war that he was just in. Obviously, he is not successful in erasing it because, we do know about it. But he goes back and he receives this title of Augustus. The Senate awarded him because he came back and he gave back all the power that he had amassed during the Civil War. So all the troops that he had, any extra dictator powers, he gave back to the Senate, as a show of good faith. And they gave that power straight back to him. After receiving this power back, the Senate's like, you know what, you deserve this power, and they give it back to him. And they also award him this title of Augustus. And it means the revered one. So this is one of his first, you can say his very first achievement is receiving the title of Augustus. So, the revered or honorable one. And that's really going to set the tone for the rest of his life. That's how people are going to see him now. He's not going to go by Octavian. That's no longer what he's going to go by. He's going to go by Augustus. He's a brand new man for this brand new age. And he sort of, when he gets this power, he's given this title, he says, it's the return of the Res Publica, or the Republic. Because now he is the savior of Rome, because he managed to defeat the traitors, Antony and Cleopatra. So he is the revered one, Augustus, and he's also the savior of Rome. And he's saying, I'm going to bring back the old republic. But unfortunately, that's not possible now. With the death of Caesar, it's no longer possible for the old republic to be once again. So, he sets upon his path of ruling Rome. Now, he's not the complete ruler of Rome at the moment, but this is the beginning. And one thing that he's going to use is his daughter, Julia. So she is the daughter of Augustus. And she's the only daughter of Augustus, his only child. And unfortunately, she's not a boy. Probably disappointed about that, but she still has her uses. And one of those uses, when you have daughters, what you do is you forge political alliances, and he needs an heir, so what he's going to do, he's going to marry, so her first husband is going to be a man named Marcellus, who is her cousin. So I have included a small family tree down here. So we have Julius Caesar, who's dead. So, dead. As he's assassinated. And now we have Augustus. And we have Julia right here as his only child. And her first husband is going to be Marcellus, who is the son of his sister. So his sister over here has a son named Marcellus, and he's not on here, but Marcellus, husband number 1. And he's also, nephew of Augustus, husband of Julia, and he's the first heir. So this is who Augustus is planning to have. He's going to take over when Augustus is dead. He's thinking, Augustus is going to take all this power, going to rule Rome, and Marcellus is going to be the one to succeed him. And everything is going well. Marcus becomes idol, which is a very good position. It is in charge of public works and public games. So he's directly in the public's eye, and they love him. But unfortunately, he dies. And he dies when he's 21 years old. So, unfortunately, he dies young. So, down here, Marcellus is gone. Well, since Augustus needs an heir, he has to go to the next best person, and that's a man named Agrippa. And he was a general under Augustus. And this is going to be his daughter's second husband, Agrippa. Now, one thing to know about Agrippa is that he was already old when he married Julia. I mean, he was well into, he was very old. Well, he had definitely reached adulthood by the time that he met Octavian and was fighting wars with Octavian. And now he's definitely older than Julia. But he is the second choice for, so he's the second heir. And, Julia and Agrippa, they have several children. So they have Agrippina, Lucius, Gaius, Julia, and another child. And everything's going well. Augustus is still weak. He's still sick. So that's why he needs to have these heirs lined up. And he's gaining more power as time goes on. And he even establishes the Leges Julii. And the Leges Julii, or the Julian laws, were a set of laws meant to reform the Romans morally. So this looked at adultery and also bribery and also elections. So this is one of the times when the Roman government, especially Augustus, is cracking down on corruption within the government. So looking at people who are buying their votes, looking at people just bribing public officials, looking at your moral and ethics and seeing what you're doing at home, because your home wasn't just a private space, it was also public. The way you conducted yourself had to be right. And so there was very harsh punishments if you were caught with any of these crimes. And slowly, time goes on, and unfortunately Agrippa, as he's old, he also dies. And so we have, what was Augustus' second heir, right here, he also dies. And so Augustus is still alive, and he doesn't know what's he going to do. So he looks to his grandsons. So he looks to, Gaius, and he looks to Lucius. He still has 2 grandsons that can possibly succeed him, hopefully. And that's what he's hoping, because he wants to keep all the power within his family line, his bloodline. And when Agrippa dies, even though Augustus has potential heirs, Gaius and Lucius, he still needs to marry his daughter off again. She needs to go form more alliances for him. And what he's going to do, he's going to marry her to his stepson. So this Livia was wife number 3 for Augustus. So Livia, third wife of Augustus. And her sons were Tiberius and Drusus from her previous marriage. And Tiberius is going to be the 3rd husband of Julia. And Augustus doesn't really have a lot of thoughts about his stepson. His stepson's doing really well for himself. He was in the military service. He became a consul. And he's just trying to keep Julia attached to somebody. Unfortunately, Tiberius and Julia do not get along. They did have a child together, but he died, and so feelings in the household is very tense. In 9 BCE, however, the Areopagus Augusti was dedicated. So the Areopagus Augusti. So this is the temple of peace of Augustus. And it's a really important temple that he dedicated. He dedicated a lot of temples during his reign, such as the temple of Apollo. Whoops. Let me spell this right. Where they had 2 public libraries, and it was on the Palatine hill, so the hill that Rome was founded on. And it was even right, well, it was attached actually to the royal palace. So right where Augustus lived. So he built these two temples. And the Temple of Peace is really important because it shows the founding of Rome and establishes Augustus's legitimacy as a ruler. So it shows, Romulus and Remus. It shows the goddesses Roma and Pax, or peace. It shows Augustus and his family. It's meant to show that, Augustus and his family, they were destined to rule Rome. This was their destiny, and it was divined by the gods, and the gods approve of him ruling over Rome, because it was meant to be. And in 2 BCE, his daughter is exiled, and she divorces Tiberius because of some rumors and her behavior. Well, he divorces Julia. And now we come to a problem now that AD, so we're talking CE, so current era or common era. I said that Lucius and Gaius were the heirs. So first Gaius was potentially, unfortunately he got sick and died. Lucius, he broke his leg, and that was sometimes a very serious death sentence. So he's gone as well. So Augustus has gone through 4 different heirs, and none of them have survived. And so now he's forced to accept his stepson as his heir. So he accepts Tiberius as his heir and formally adopts him into his family. And in 14 BCE, Augustus dies. And when Augustus dies, he makes Tiberius the first true emperor of Rome. And by killing off he killed off a grandson that was removed just so that Tiberius would have a better claim to the throne. So Augustus was trying to find a way where there would not be a power struggle, because he thought back to the civil war that he and Antony were in, and he didn't want that because he established the Pax Romana, or what we call the era of Roman peace. We in history we always think about the Pax Romana. It was such a peaceful time. It was like a golden age, and Augustus is the one who is responsible for that. He's the one who declared that it was a Pax Romana, and so he doesn't want a power struggle. So he's letting his stepson, who doesn't even have his own blood, be the next emperor and succeed him. And this is allowed, sort of justified in Augustus' mind, because he did marry Julia at some point. He's also a stepson and was adopted, and Augustus was adopted by Caesar, so it must be okay, and the family will continue. So that's sort of his personal life and some of his achievements. Some other achievements what were the Temple of Julius Caesar. So remember that when he died, Julius Caesar became a god, and he even got his own temple. And he also created the Praetorian Guard. Now, this is not as important as, the Pax Romana and the temples. However, it's important to the emperors because these are the guards of the emperors. And whoever's close to power, you'll notice in history, become powerful themselves. So they'll play a really important role later on with the emperors. And another thing, one more thing that he's very well known for is the res gestae Augusti. And you can call this, or translate it as, the achievements of Augustus. And basically what he did is he wrote down everything that he did. Augustus wrote his own biography, so an autobiography of his life and all the achievements that he had. And it sort of became a blueprint for emperors to come to show, this is how you act like an emperor. So this is the model that people are going to look at when they become emperor or want to be emperor. Now, you'll notice that I did leave one man off, Drusus. He's not important in the story of Augustus, but his sons and his descendants are important because he has 2 sons with his wife. And one named Germanicus, whose own son is named Caligula, who we'll talk about when we talk about emperors. And also Claudius, who is also later an emperor. And he's the 3rd emperor. And Caligula is the 2nd. So when we talk about emperors, we'll definitely come back to these 2 and Drusus. But it's good to know about Augustus. Remember, if you have any questions, you can always email me. Please make sure that you go back through the notes or this video if you need to. And write down some of the achievements of Augustus' life because they're really important. And be able to explain maybe a couple things on why some of these might be important. Why is it important that there's a temple of Julius Caesar? Think about who had temples dedicated up to now. What about the laws that he created? How might that be important? Okay.